Metal Jesus here, and I'm back again with another series of Hidden Gems videos, this time covering the Xbox 360. I love collecting for this system. I played it to death. It was definitely my go-to console during that generation. And while I've gone on to appreciate the PlayStation 3 and also the Wii, but man, back in the day, I loved the 360. I have about 100 games for it, so I thought I would pick through my collection and try to come up with 3 videos packed full of games that not a lot of people know about. Now, not every one of these will be exclusive to the 360. That's because I don't assume everyone has every console. So my goal here is that if you have a 360 and you like collecting for it, and you're looking for something, you know, that not a lot of people know about, this is going to be the video for you. Let's take a look. I want to start off with what I consider one of the best hidden gems of the Xbox 360, and that is Enslaved Odyssey to the West.
Do you think you could tell me what the plan is?
To get you home as fast as possible so that you can take this thing off my head and I can break your neck.
This is a surprisingly well-made game, and frankly, it's a shame that it didn't sell more copies. However, fans of The Last of Us should feel right at home with this game. They're very similar in some regards. You go through the entire adventure with these two characters, and initially they're kind of disgusted with each other, but slowly they start growing to know and trust each other over the course of the story. And you can see that the graphics are just fantastic, just beautiful in this game. Very green and lush, and also post-apocalyptic, which really reminds me of The Last of Us. Now, I don't mean to keep bringing up that title, but these two games have so much in common. Enslaved Odyssey to the West has a lot of great things about it. It's really well made, and frankly, if you're looking for something kind of new and interesting and typically not too expensive to add to your collection, this is a total hidden gem. Split Second is a really great futuristic arcade racing game where you are a contestant on this hardcore reality TV show in the future. Think of it sort of like Death Race 2000.
Over the next 12 exciting episodes, contestants from around the world will battle it out on the track with the aim of qualifying for the chance to race the Split Second Elite.
This game is a cool mix of Burnout, one of my all-time favorite arcade racing games, and another title called Splashdown Rides Gone Wild. Now, the reason why I compare it to Splashdown Rides Gone Wild is because this game's standout feature is the destructible and interactive elements in the track. The better you race by drifting and driving, the more power you build up, called power plays. Then you can unleash destruction on your opponent simply by pushing a button. This part kind of reminds me a little bit of Mario Kart in that you can really affect other players at the same time. But the game goes even further by allowing you to change entire routes of the track with these power plays. This is a very cool and chaotic racing game, and kind of unlike anything I've ever played. It's really well made, it looks great, and totally awesome. .007 Bloodstone surprisingly is one of my top 5 favorite James Bond games.
Bond here.
Good morning, 007. I know we promised you a week's holiday after Athens, but we have a situation developing that requires immediate attention.
Now, I know a lot of people are going to be kind of surprised. I mean, what the hell is this game? I mean, why haven't you heard about it? Well, for one, it wasn't based on a particular movie. It was an all-original story starring Daniel Craig and the typical crew, but it's so well made, and it's created by Bizarre Creations. This is a really great developer who also created Project Gotham Racing and Blur. This is a third-person action shooter with stealth elements and amazing drive sequences, which makes sense because, again, that developer has a ton of experience doing that. Plus, great set pieces and a lot of variety. In addition to all the James Bond kind of gunplay going on, there's also a lot of hand-to-hand combat. And the game even feels a little bit like Splinter Cell at times with all the stealth gameplay. You know, it makes sense because Bond is a lone guy and, you know, sometimes he needs to sneak around. As a matter of fact, this game kind of reminds me of another one of my favorite James Bond games, and that is Everything or Nothing. So if you're a hardcore James Bond fan like me, and you haven't heard of this game, man, I highly recommend you go out and take a look. It's really awesome, a lot of fun. I gotta tell you, I'm really excited to finally cover Singularity in one of my videos because honestly, this first-person shooter is a total hidden gem.
Copy that, Titan 1.
You see that?
Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I'm a big fan of the BioShock games and the System Shock games and some of those games like Deus Ex, which are first-person games that have a bit more depth to them. They're not so twitchy in their shooting. This game fits right in there. It's a total love letter to that genre. And like those games I mentioned, this game also has a really cool sci-fi story, which involves time travel, portals, and other dimensions. Early on in the game, you get a weapon that allows you to manipulate time on certain objects. This allows you to do certain things like, for instance, rebuild a collapsed bridge that will now allow you to get access to another area. Or perhaps you could quickly degrade something that was once new to something that's very old and now corroded. It's a pretty cool little gimmick that sort of reminds me of the gravity gun in Half-Life. Another thing I really like is that there's tech and loot hidden everywhere. You end up looking in every little nook and cranny for more of this stuff. Also, the game includes audio logs, which help further fill in the backstory.
Children, under your desks immediately and put your hands over your heads. Don't worry,
Ah yes, Kingdoms of Amalur. This is a game that my wife literally sunk hundreds of hours into. I mean, she played this game twice, she loved it so much. So, of course I had to include it here, even though not a lot of people know about it. This is a role-playing game. It's an interesting mix of, say, Fable, but also has a bit of God of War style combat and the boss battles. And then it's also a big open world, similar to Skyrim. But probably the standout feature in this game has to be the combat. It's so dynamic. You go from range attacks to close combat with swords, then you'll throw in some magic and even area attacks. It's just awesome. Also, the game is beautiful. I love the graphics. I love the level design. There's a lot of variety here, a lot of different cities and towns, and a lot of things to explore, people to talk to, quests to take on, just a ton of stuff to do. Now, unfortunately, this game shipped a little buggy, and my wife ran into a couple bugs. However, those are easily avoided if you just simply check out some of the game forums out there, because you really don't want to skip this game, especially if you are an RPG fan. It's actually really well made. It's a high quality game and definitely a total hidden gem. Alpha Protocol is another game I've been dying to talk about on my channel because I actually really liked it, despite kind of mediocre reviews. This game is kind of like a James Bond role-playing game. I know, it sounds pretty crazy, right? Especially when most role-playing games are about orcs and elves and wizards and all that sort of crap that's been done a million times. Well, these guys made a spy RPG, and surprisingly, it's actually really fun. This game was made by Obsidian, and that may sound kind of familiar because they made the second Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and more recently, they made South Park Stick of Truth. So they've got a lot of experience making deep role-playing games, and it shows here. One of my favorite aspects of this game is that you just have total control over the outcome of this story. Honestly, more so than most role-playing games you will play. For instance, at almost every story junction in this game, it gives you choice. And unlike a lot of games, the choice in this game matters, and you have to really think about it because it's going to affect everything going forward.
I have to admit I was worried whether we'd be able to keep you here after you woke up in medical. You gave our staff a run for its money.
Maybe it's their training that's in question, not mine.
Fair enough. It'll be a good excuse to up the morning drills around here.
As a matter of fact, there's so much choice in this game that it's one of the few games that I've finished where I immediately wanted to start it over again just to see what would happen, the next time I played through it. Project Sylpheed is a relatively new addition to my Xbox 360 collection. However, it has been recommended to me by fans of my channel for years, and that is because they know that I love space combat games like Wing Commander.
Red Leader, hold your current course. Lead the enemy to the others. We must move on to Levendorf.
This game takes place in the 27th century, not the 26th, and definitely not the 28th. Oh no, the 27th. I don't even know how they come up with this stuff. I mean, who cares? Well, anyways, it's got a story and maybe some people are into it. It involves a civil war among planets, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? All I care about is space combat, flying a ship, blowing stuff up. And in this game, you get to do that. It's cool because there's small enemy crafts that you track with your radar, you lock on with missiles, and then you have big-ass capital ships, which are always my favorite. The game has 16 missions to play through, and 6 more additional missions available via Xbox Live. One of my favorite features of a game like this, and I think the original Wing Commander did this as well, is that it detects if you're failing a mission too often, and then it'll give you an option to skip that mission and move the story and game forward. I can't tell you how many times that has been just like a lifesaver with a game like this. However, I do feel that this game is really well balanced and never was too tough. As a matter of fact, it actually has a new game plus mode. So once you get there, you can actually restart it with all your end game weapons and upgrades and just continue on. And the game just gets even more and more awesome. Sacred 2 is an action role-playing game played from an isometric view similar to maybe Diablo. This game allows you to play either as light or shadow, which is basically good or evil, and the story plays out differently depending on your alignment. For instance, you might be the person who saves the town from invaders as the light side, but you may be the person attacking when playing as shadow. And this game is pretty big too. For instance, the surface map is huge at over 22 square miles to explore, not including the dungeons. You also have 7 playable gender classes and a level cap of 200. And also, as a nice little bonus to metalheads like me, the power metal band Blind Guardian wrote the theme song, and they also appear in the game as characters. I see this game really appealing to fans of Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance and Champions of Norath. All right, well, there's part 1 of my Xbox 360 Hidden Gems. Parts 2 and 3 are coming soon. Now, one of the more interesting parts of the Xbox 360 was the custom faceplates that you could get. Here is mine. Now, this is my go-to system for years and years and years. And I always thought that the faceplates that they used to sell were pretty cool. And often they're kind of collectible. So here I have the one I got at E3 2005. Microsoft was giving these out to press, which I thought was really cool, and I just love the design. Here's another one. Now, I don't have it open yet, but Deathsmiles. This is a shooter, and it came with a faceplate for your Xbox 360. I haven't opened it simply because I already have the game open and I played it, so I'm kind of keeping this one just because it's sort of special. But I'm kind of curious. I mean, do you guys have faceplates that you put on your 360? Why do you think these things never really seem to take off? It was such a cool idea to be able to customize the look of your console. That's such an interesting idea that I wish other manufacturers did more. Anyways, I'd love to know what you guys think. Please post a comment below. As always, I want to thank you for watching my channel and thank you for subscribing. Take care.